Time now for a bigger picture with Dr. Dan from Sioux Falls Hypnosis. Hello, sir.
Hello, as always. How are you?
Very good. Excited to have you in here. We're going to continue the conversation of heroes and villains, which we've been talking about, which, again, I love this because this is something there are probably a lot of people who hadn't really thought of this before, but, you know, they maybe realize that they're probably the villain in somebody else's story where they figure they're the hero.
Are we doing like a part two? This will be our first part two.
Part two, part
Heroes
three,
and
part
villains,
12,
part
who
two.
knows?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. We just keep going.
Right, and we were talking about that if you can't comfortably be the hero and the villain, comfortably. Yeah. So it's the idea is that we all are the hero and the villain. So to really be able to accept that and take it in and not feel like that's some kind of failure or, you know, some experience you have to be shamed of or, you know, the idea is if you make a mistake to handle it in a useful way. When you figure out you're the villain, do something about it. Make changes. This is all a wonderful, good, growing experience. Because if you feel yourself, if you have to always be the hero, or you have to always be the villain, whatever that it would be, or you feel like you're always the hero, or you feel like you're always the villain, then what you are is stuck. And so many people out there are experiencing themselves as stuck in some form or fashion. And if you start with, here's the real controversial thing coming, radio audience.
I'm bracing myself.
Is if you're stuck, I would say there's a very, very, very good chance you're actually the villain in that story. Does that make sense?
It does. Absolutely does.
If you're experiencing yourself as stuck, if something's happening to you over and over and over, why does this keep happening to me? Or how come, you know, I'm having such a bad time? Or why can't I seem to make changes? Or why can't my life feel or be any different? I would suggest that the reason for that is, or at least the very first thing you should be considering, is that you're actually the villain in that. Whatever's happening, you're doing that.
Absolutely.
And that is not people's first stop. That, you know, for those of you hearing it out there, I'm not sure how you're responding to it because people don't like that idea at all. And I think it's the very first place we need to go. If we are stuck, if we have a negative experience that's continually happening to us on a routine basis, we're probably manufacturing that experience in some way.
And this is something that can be really difficult. When you're in the middle of that, you don't necessarily see a way out of it. If you're in the middle of that, you don't necessarily go, how can I climb out of this?
Well, no, especially if you see yourself as the victim.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, why does this keep happening to me?
Yeah.
You know, why do people keep treating me this way? Why do I keep, you know, not having good jobs? Why do my relationships, why are they problematic? Why do my friends always X, Y, and Z?
Well, and I know someone who has dated a bunch of the same kind of person and has the same exact result each time, and then is single again shortly thereafter.
And I don't know your friend, but very likely what happens is people have that experience, but they see themselves as the victim, and then they'll blame, or they'll be confused, or lost. But what they end up with is they're stuck. They're repeating something over and over and over again. When in reality, what I would suggest about your friend is, they are engineering this experience over and over. They are the villain in this story, whether they're aware of it or not.
And they keep picking the same type of person who then they're shocked when they do the same type of thing.
Right.
Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Right. And from the outside, and we talked a little bit about this in Heroes and Villains Part 1.
Yes.
Is that it's perspective. If you want to know where you're kind of a villain, you might want to check with the people around you that care about you because they may see this.
Yeah.
The problem is that a lot of us don't want to hear it.
And there are times when somebody may be blamed as the villain when they really are the hero.
It does happen.
And I know when I was a little boy, my dad was a police officer. And I don't really remember the times because by the time I was old enough to remember things, he was no longer a police officer. But I do know there were people in my life, later in life, that were older than me who didn't like my dad because he arrested them at one point. And I was like, what did he arrest you for? He's like, I was drinking and driving. And I'm like, well that was kind of on you then, wasn't it? But somehow he was the bad guy for arresting them, for whatever thing they had done. So again, he was the villain in their story when he was literally just doing his best to, be the hero in the rest of the world's story.
Right. And, and that's really the idea is that, whether you're seeing yourself as the hero or the villain, again, that's because of the choices you're making, the things you're thinking, the thoughts you're thinking, the feelings you're feeling. And you don't really want to change those, which is why this thing keeps happening to you over and over and over again. What you're actually trying to do, if you're experiencing yourself as stuck in one of these positions, is whatever you're out there doing, you're trying to make sure that you don't have to change.
Exactly.
And so you end up then re-experiencing this same thing or having the same crappy situations or unfulfilled things or whatever it is, stop for a second, take that breath, and whatever it is that's going on in your life, wherever you are, wherever it isn't working, wherever you are stuck, wherever you're experiencing yourself as being the villain and you don't understand what the situation is, take a breath and ask yourself, what am I doing? How am I choosing this? If you don't know, ask someone who cares about you. They'll give you some clarity.
If somebody listening is going, I could probably use some help with that. I need to find my polar north and get back on track because I've veered somewhere. I would encourage them to reach out to you because you do a great job with this. How do they get a hold of you, Dr.
They can call us at Sioux Falls Hypnosis at 605-702-6691. You can find us on the intranet at SiouxFallsHypnosis.com, as well as other exciting places like Facebook and TikTok. And I am Dr. Dan, the HypnoDoc on TikTok. That's nice. Kind of a new development. And so I have plenty of these sort of educational pieces out there waiting for you to look at them.
Very nice. Again, SiouxFallsHypnosis.com is his website. And if you're catching the tail end of this radio interview, you can also find this as a podcast at SiouxFallsPodcast.com.